When I say, who's the master? You say, Sonya.
Oh my god, it was so good. Oh! What is up, guys? Showing Off the King here, back with another video. And today is the day. Today is the day. Young Justice, after a 5 to 6 year hiatus, has returned. Your boy has watched all 3 episodes, and god damn, it was good. There's so much to talk about. I don't even want to waste any more time. Shia has already introduced the video on my thoughts on these episodes, so I got my notes. We got to get into this. So the way I'm gonna break down this review is very simple. I believe that episode 1 was packed with so much content. I'm gonna cover episode 1 separately. Like all of them will be in the same review that you're watching, but I want to spend a good amount of time talking about episode 1 because there's so many nuggets. There's so much information extrapolated from that first episode alone that it deserves its own moment to shine. Episodes 2 and 3 that take place, 90% of it takes place in Bialia. I'm sorry, not Bialia, Markovia. So, Markovia, I'm going to handle episodes 2 and 3 together. I'm going to talk about those 2 episodes as a singular thing because they kind of rub off on each other. So, that let's get that out of the way. So, the first thing I want to talk about with Young Justice is the tone. Young Justice was never a show that was for kids, like Y7 and, even 8-year-olds. No, none of them should really have been watching Young Justice even back then when it was on Cartoon Network, because it dealt with adult themes, relationships, fighting, violence, all that stuff. You can never compare Young Justice to a Amazing Spider-Man or even the Avengers and stuff like that was going on Disney XD, because we already know that Disney, they're not about that realistic punch to the gut kind of content. They like everything to be real fluffy. Everybody, the bad guys always lose, the good guys always win. There's never any casualties. That like kumbaya bullshit. And again, sometimes it's cool, but when it comes to some shows that I enjoy watching, I like to see that realism get smacked right into the face. Realism in a cartoon that's, not real, but you get what I'm saying. Young Justice, this season, is if the first episode alone is any indication of what this season is going to be, my God. Between the first 3 episodes, we got kidnapped kids, trafficking, murder, like testing, like this. Alright, you know what? It's just so good, guys. Like, thank you, DC Universe, for bringing back Young Justice. Well worth my membership. As long as you guys keep bringing out content like this, you will have my money happily monthly with no complaints. If you guys can keep up content like this, motherfucker, y'all will be as much of a staple in this household as Netflix is. Netflix ain't going no damn where in this household. Not with my kids, but if y'all keep this kind of content going, that shit's going. I would pay. You know what? Y'all keep content like this coming, I'm gonna pay for the whole year up front. Straight up. Anyway, so the tone. I'm sorry. I'm fanboying a little bit. I'm trying to keep my composure, but this has been 6 years in the making. God damn it. Whew. So let's get into the review. So episode 1 takes place 2 years after the events of season 2 of Young Justice. We find out that Dick has taken a break from the team and has handed over the reins to Calder. And over the course of the 2 year, Calder has taken up the mantle as Aquaman, and is also a huge member of the actual Justice League. He has full rights and is kind of like leading missions, and just he's big boss in town, which is not surprising at all, because if you guys remember from season 2, Calder was one of the biggest factors that went in with figuring out what's going on with the Light and ruining their plans for kidnapping metahumans at that time, as well as stopping the invasion that they had going on as well. So Calder becoming a full-fledged member of the Justice League and being like one of the, I don't want to say the founding members because he's not a founding member, but basically being one of the head people in charge and taking on the mantle of Aquaman is a big deal. We don't even know what happened to Aquaman. Maybe he's with Mira somewhere. I don't know. Maybe he's dead. I don't know, but as far as we know right now, Aqualad is no longer Aqualad. He's now Aquaman. So we check back in with the group, and there's a big meeting. And I'm sorry, pause. Get your shit together, Jay. Sure enough, fucked up for a minute. I skipped a big part. I was talking about tone, and I forgot one of the biggest part of the tone. Within the first 5 minutes of the episode, we are on Ran with the group, Superman, Wonder Woman, fighting parademons. We have Darkseid's people stealing and kidnapping children. They kidnapped a 14-year-old girl with heart disease and turned her into a female version of Plasmus. Yeah, I said Plasmus. Plasmus from Teen Titans. We've never seen Plasmus in an actual, like, adult version of the superhero show. We've only ever seen Plasmus in the Teen Titans. So we even had Plasmus in these first 3 episodes. So we have this female version of Plasmus that gets transferred. So right now what's going on is that people are stealing teenagers and experimenting on them, trying to see if they have the metagene, because again, that all got exposed in season 2. Go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. And what's happening is that they're weaponizing these children and taking them to battle as weapons of mass destruction, which is just mind-blowing to me, because again, that kind of thing with like human trafficking, all of that kind of stuff, they're taking with some of the real world things that are happening right now in the world that we live in, and they're putting a superhero spin on it, and I love it. So we get to Ran, and this battle is going on, and the chick is just like destroying things, and Black Lightning shows up, and he electrocutes her and accidentally kills her. He wasn't trying to, shock her, but because she had a weak heart, his electricity shot just stopped her heart, and she died. Like, she is dead. Like, consequences, people. Consequences. So, yes, that happened. And because of that happened with Black Lightning, that's what kind of led us to the meeting that I was just talking about that I completely skipped before. So Black Lightning kind of goes, and they're having a huddle. They're talking about what's going on, and come to find out that things have not gotten better for the Justice League since season 2. Since the last 2 years, things have gotten progressively worse. We know that Lex Luthor is a part of the Light. We've already confirmed that. And apparently he is now one of the heads of the UN, and he's basically been using his power to manipulate the public and manipulate rules and sanctions against the Justice League to make it harder for them to be superheroes and do their jobs. So it's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, just from the dichotomy of what's been going on in this series since it ended in a couple of those years ago, is that it's not just about physical power anymore. We're now getting into the political spectrum of how influence and how propaganda and how just all of those other things can be just as powerful as having superhuman abilities. Because again, you see things like, you have someone as strong as Superman, but then we have somebody that's Lex Luthor, who is in charge of power and can wield his political power to kind of hinder the Justice League, so much so that Batman is basically throwing it, not so much of a coup, but Batman is to the point now where he's actually ready to go back to his vigilante ways. So he kind of stages a situation where he quits and everybody else on his squad quits. And I actually wrote down all the people that quit with Batman. And the people that were there that quit was Green Arrow and Batman, who were sitting there. But then we also had on the hologram, there was Cyborg, Batwoman, I believe it was Vibe, Katana, Arrow, and that was it. That was on a hologram. And then when they left out of the room, none of the founding members of the Justice League, Arrowette and Robin, also left. And I think it was one other girl, but I could not remember who that was. So if you guys know, let me tell me in the comment section below. Also, subscribe to the channel. You know, it's back. You know, Show Enough the King is here. I'm going to be reviewing these things for you weekly. So definitely subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up the video. Bell notifications. You know that good shit. So those are the folks that left. And, you know, Black Lightning also resigned, but he didn't resign because of Batman. And I kind of love how Black Lightning told Bruce off and was kind of like, I don't trust you, and I definitely don't trust you now after the shit you just pulled. Because, again, he can kind of tell that Batman was pulling some shit. Now, what Batman is doing, we don't know yet. It's kind of like Batman always plans for contingencies, so I don't know if this is just him going back to his vigilante ways, because we already know that when the Justice League was first formed, Batman didn't immediately want to join. Like, he was kind of like a provisional member until he fully joined them. But now, so it doesn't surprise me at all if anyone was going to quit. Batman would probably be the first one, because again, he's already used to doing things on his own anyway, so that doesn't surprise me. But whether or not he has ulterior motives, we'll find out later on. We'll see. So with that, we kind of switch things off to Robin. So again, this is like 2 years later. Robin is in Russia. He's tracking down leads, and then he has Oracle on his side. And again, we haven't seen physically Batgirl, so we don't know if Barbara is Oracle in the sense where she still can be Batgirl, or is this the Oracle where she's been shot by the Joker and is now in a wheelchair. We don't know. And again, from the sound of it, they could be dating. We don't know. We didn't get a lot of information on that, but I'm assuming we'll find out as the series goes on. Now, speaking of Robin, speaking of Dick and Nightwing, I wanted to kind of toss in some of the things that I noticed is the tech that they were using. So we already knew from season 1 that Robin had like a lot of great hacking equipment and stuff like that. So it only makes sense that as we are in season 3 now, that the technology will develop even more. So it looks like they have like these virtual reality heads-up displays that are like in the contact lenses in their eyes, where it gives them like hugs, it lets them communicate. It can he has his little gadgets now that can basically help him hack anything. He can get the fingerprint, on the screen. He can unlock any kind of remote lock. The technology is great, and it looks like he's handing it out to all the members. Other observation, Artemis is no longer Artemis. She is now Tigress. So I might slip up a couple times and call her Artemis, but she is now Tigress. And speaking of Tigress, she's one of the people selected for this mission to go to Markovia. Full disclosure, and again, I briefly forgot this. So when you see her wake up with Bruce Lee, I think that's the name of the dog, and you see her look at the picture of her and Wally, she goes downstairs and Roy is in the kitchen with the daughter. And for a brief second, I thought that Roy and Artemis, Tigress, got together. But then I remembered back to last season. I was like, no, dummy. The daughter is Roy and Tigress's sister's kid. So that's basically their brother and sister, and that's her brother-in-law. So Roy's grown up. He's all domesticated. He has a daughter. We don't know where Cheshire is. And maybe she's in jail. Maybe she's dead. Who knows? I don't even know if we will figure it out. But it's good to see Roy. I'm sorry, William. Don't call him Roy. He's William. Arsenal is Roy, and we don't know where Arsenal is, but if you remember from season 3, Arsenal left with the Runaways. But we do know that Virgil is actually a part of the Justice League, so maybe the Runaways kind of broke up. Again, there's so much stuff that they can develop later on. It's crazy. This is only episode 1 I'm talking about, people. God damn. So the little girl that died was 14 years old. We covered Plasmus. We covered the people that left. I'm just trying to make sure. Hello, Megan. Let's talk about Megan and Superboy. Whoo! I must admit I was a little excited when I found out that Superboy proposed to Megan. I mean, I was kind of like, oh, like, I'm sorry, guys. Come on. This is Young Justice. Let me have my moment here. I can be a little soft for Young Justice. I love that couple. I'm glad they're together. We need a little bit of happiness with all this darkness. We got kids getting kidnapped and people getting murdered. We need a little bit of light in this darkness. So McGann and Superboy getting married was a great highlight. I really, really enjoyed that. Superboy is kind of feeling apprehensive because now with Superman being off-world, he's feeling more pressure to step up and be more of a Superman on Earth. So I get that. I totally get that. But again, that's what I love about Young Justice is because we're getting that other side from non-developed characters. We have people with feelings like, how are things going to go with Robin now that, he's no longer dating Wonder Girl? So, Robin and Wonder Girl were dating, but now that he's leaving with Bruce, we don't know how that relationship's going to turn out. Whatever happened with Mal and Bumblebee, so we don't know what happened. We don't know what happened with that either. It was good to see Blue Beetle was still there. We also saw that Kid Flash is now there. He's no longer Impulse. He's now Kid Flash. So that was awesome as well. And with the recruiting, Black Lightning ends up coming in. And again, I'll talk about Black Lightning more when I'm covering episodes 2 and 3 as a whole, but I love the introduction to Black Lightning. I love how the first 3 episodes really encompass Black Lightning, because again, that's one of the characters that is now getting a lot of shine in on the CW with his show Black Lightning. And again, if you guys are not watching Black Lightning on the CW, slap yourself. It's a fantastic fucking show. Go watch it. Black Lightning, I love how you got to see his daughters. You see his ex-wife and find out that her brother is actually one of the Green Lanterns. I'm assuming it's not Hal Jordan, but I can't remember his name right now. I apologize, but yes, her brother is Green Lantern, and she was married to Black Lightning. I did not know that, but again, it is what it is. So it was great kind of getting that introduction of Black Lightning, and you can tell that I didn't realize this, but if you watch the show, you can kind of see that Black Lightning's powers are tied to his emotions. So he is traumatized after he killed that 14-year-old girl that was turned into the female plasmas. But, he can still sense electricity, but he can't omit electricity. And again, it's something that's mental. It's not a physical thing that's wrong with him. He's just mentally fucked up about killing a kid, and who wouldn't be? So, I love the development, the small little details that they gave us in that first episode. So, I feel like we've been talking for a while, but, it's worth it. So that was episode 1. Again, like I said, there was a lot of stuff that happened in episode 1. And now episode 2 and 3, we actually make it to Markovia. And I just have to say, they, again, knocked it out of the park. One of the things that I was afraid of, because they kind of have this trope in anime, they do it in anime as well, but in anime and cartoons in general, we go to Markovia, we see a king in power, and you see there's a power struggle between who wants to be king. You have the king and queen who end up getting murdered, and then you have the 2 sons. So obviously you're thinking in your head, it has to either be the son that's in cahoots with the uncle. Like, it was so telegraphed that I was like, if this is where you guys are going and you're going to drag this out for episodes and episodes, I'm going to be upset, because I felt like it's clear as day. Like, if you got somebody that the actual king and queen die, it's clearly either the brother or it's the son that did it. They want power, and that's what they're going to do to get power. So I didn't really appreciate at first what was going on as far as that was going. But what they did that was brilliant is that they wrapped that whole thing up in 2 episodes. So I had already been jotting down in my notebook. I was like, all right, the uncle is in on it, because there was a scene where one of the servants, who I'm going to talk about because she was actually the highlight of episodes 2 and 3, especially 3. And I'm going to get to Halo, so you just wait till I finish, when I start talking about Halo. Halo. So one of the servants gets let in, and then there's an assassin that kind of has the same speed as Flash. He kind of runs in and assassinates the king and queen. As he's coming out, Bedlam, he is kind of like trying to stop him, and at the point where, like, it looks like they're doing a show, and he kind of like swipes his sword, and then like Bedlam, and the guy like ducks underneath Bedlam's sword and starts to run away to the point where Bedlam shoots him through the back and kills him. You can kind of tell the guy was shocked. He's like, "Oh, you weren't supposed to kill me." So even then, I was like, "Oh my God, this is so telegraphed. This is clearly he's a part of this. Like you can see it." So you end up finding out that, of course, that Bedlam is a part of this whole scheme to kind of to experiment on kids, and Markovia is like they are actually renting out they're not renting out, they have a children's hospital where they're actually taking kids from the hospital and experimenting on them, and that's where we find out that the 14-year-old girl who got turned into the female Plasmids, her brother also got turned into Plasmids, and he's the actual new Plasmid that I was talking about from Teen Titans. He is the Plasmids that we all know and love from Teen Titans. And he's now in charge, and he had the control disc in his neck, and he's, fighting with Count Vertigo, and they're all just trying to, steal kids. Now, again, we talk about tone. You look in these pods where they're trying to change these kids into metahumans, and you see these pods where there are kids in these pods that have gone through the transformation, and you see one kid that didn't make it, and you just see a female body just floating in the water, dead. When the king and queen got killed, you saw them lying in the bed, dead, blood on the sheets. The guy who murdered them, blood on his hands. The shit is real. This shit is real. And again, I love this tone. Like, this is what I wanted to see. Like, that's why when people complain about the DCEU movies, I'm like, fuck that. Make that shit more realistic. I want to see blood. I want to see darkness. That's what the real world is. And speaking of the real world, I want to take a moment to talk about the people. There are going to be some of you assholes out there who want to try to politicize this TV show because they're using real world scenarios that could be tied to our current asshole in chief. I mean, our president. Where extreme vetting. We even get a cameo from G. Gregory. He's the guy who has his whole political talk show, and he's talking to Bedlam, and Bedlam is talking about right after his sister and her husband get murdered that they need to do extreme vetting for metahumans when they come into Markovia. And again, that's a ploy because he wants to do extreme vetting so that they can capture more children with the metagenes so they can experiment on them. So he's basically just trying to get a free pass to experiment on these kids. So that's kind of the reason why he was trying to play that. That was his play with that. So I know there's going to kind of be the same thing like in our current climate where President Trump wanted to do extreme vetting for immigrants to come over to the United States. It's the same play on words. So again, I thought it was very clever, and again, it makes sense based off of the situation that we're in right now with the human trafficking. It makes sense. So, but again, I know there are going to probably be a bunch of people making videos about the same subject, and they're just like, we don't want your politics in our TV shows. We don't want. Fuck that. It is what it is. Get over it. So I'm not gonna get into much of that anymore. I do want to kind of wrap things up. Well, not quite wrap things up, but I want to kind of move on into episode 2 and 3 and kind of talk about one of my standout characters from those 2 episodes, Halo. Yo, where the fuck did Halo come from? Can we talk about the diversity for a while? Just for a little bit? Like, we got Black Lightning. We predominantly displayed in all 3 episodes. We get Halo, and she's a Muslim. I'm assuming she's a Muslim because of her hair garb. But again, she's a female, she's a Muslim, she's a person of color, and she has some real OP powers. So apparently, she was the one that let the guard in that killed the king and queen. So she was experimented on with a couple of other people, I'm assuming they were also in the house at the time. And they died, their bodies were dumped in a ditch along with her, and she came back to life. So but her power set is fucking bananas. Like, apparently she has energy manipulation. She can fly with her energy. She has force bubbles, kind of like Sue Richards. And later on in episode 3, Plasmids grabs her face and burns it off. So you see her like passed out on the ground, like dead. Half her face was burnt off. And this motherfucker came back to life. Like, she pops up and she's like, not dead. And like her whole fucking face gets fixed. And I'm just like, what? So, again, Halo, she is a bad motherfucker. I can't wait to see what her powers are and just experiment with that even more. We also find out that the Prince of Bialia, because there were two brothers, he also goes through the transformation and he also gets powers. And his powers are more like it's kind of like Terra's from Teen Titans, where she can kind of control Earth and tectonic, plates and shit like that. But his is more like a fire-based power. Um, there's this huge fight scene on the beach. The good guys win. I don't want to go through details. You saw the episode. I just want to talk about the points and how great it is. Overall, they shut down the children's hospital. We get 2 new members of the Justice on the Young Justice team, and all is well. Black Lightning is a badass. Halo is god tier strong. Like, I gotta figure, like, if you guys, like, is she a real character? Like, can I read a comic book with her in it? Because I kind of want to read up on her and figure out exactly what her power sets is. Because, again, she's OP as fuck. But, again, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Again, I know this is long, but, again, I'm covering 3 episodes. I hope I didn't miss anything. I don't think I did. Let me just look through my notes real quick. I talked about Halo. I talked about the light. Yeah, I touched on everything. So, don't forget, rate, comment, subscribe, thumbs up the video, and let's start talking, people. And that's the other thing. The DC Universe website also has a great community. Like, if you go under the Young Justice tab, you'll see me there on the Show Enough the King. We can talk there. You can talk in the comment section. Like, people have been talking about it back and forth. I've been talking with people all day. It's just a great time to be a fan of the DC Universe. Aquaman is fantastic. The Teen Titans show was great. And now Young Justice is back. Today is the day. Rate, comment, subscribe. Show Enough the King. You guys have an awesome weekend.